welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 3 of Vlogmas. Today we are going to make a keto Christmas appetizer. I am so excited. It looks like a Christmas tree. It is super cute and perfect for all of those holiday parties that seem to happen around this time of the year. We are basically going to be making little keto pizza bites, but in the shape of a Christmas tree, so it's very, very festive. Without further ado, let's hop right into this recipe. Before we begin the recipe, make sure you preheat your oven to 350 degrees. The first step of this recipe is making fathead dough. If you've never heard of fathead dough, it is basically a keto-friendly dough that when baked tastes pretty darn similar to bread. In fathead dough is mozzarella cheese, an egg, which I almost just threw on the floor and it would have been real bad, some baking powder, some almond flour. And for this recipe, since we are making pizza bites, I am going to use some of this Italian all-purpose seasoning with basil, oregano, garlic, and sea salt just to give a little bit of extra flavor to the dough. You can Google fathead dough and there's about 1 million different fathead dough recipes, but they are all roughly the same or very, very similar. However, today I am going to try Keto Copy on Instagram, her fathead dough recipe, because she always has the best fathead dough balls. Do you see that? How cool is that? Like, it always looks so perfect and like real dough. So I'm going to try that recipe today in this video. So without further ado, let's hop right in and start making this dough. First things first, you are going to need 2 bowls, one of which is microwave safe because we are going to be microwaving the cheese to melt it. So I am going to use this smaller bowl for my cheese, and I'm going to set it down on a food scale because this is just the easiest way to make this in my opinion. So I'm going to set the bowl on the food scale, tare it to 0, and then we are going to add in 10 ounces of shredded mozzarella cheese. So when you have it on the scale, it just makes it so much easier to weigh it out. So time to add in a copious amount of cheese. Now I have added my 10 ounces of mozzarella cheese into this bowl. Now I'm going to set it aside and grab my second bowl. So now I'm going to set that on the scale, tare it out, and we are going to add in 5 ounces of almond flour. Up next, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder into the 5 ounces of almond flour. And the last thing I'm going to add to the almond flour is just some of this Italian seasoning. Now that we've got the dry ingredients all weighed out, we're going to go ahead and start microwaving this cheese. So what we're going to do is microwave the cheese in 30-second increments until it's all the way melted. This is what the cheese looks like after 1.5 minutes of microwaving. It is definitely very melted and ready to continue on with the recipe. What I'm going to do now is crack in 1 egg into the cheese. And now, using my spatula, we're just going to get this egg nice and mixed in. Now that I have the egg pretty well mixed into the cheese, we are going to dump in our dry ingredients. And now we are just going to mix this very, very well until everything is incorporated. This step will take a couple of minutes. Just keep working it and I promise it'll all mix together. As you may be able to see, I've pretty much gotten the almond flour incorporated into the cheese. So what I'm going to do now is wet my hands to kind of prevent it from sticking to me. I'm just going to go in with my hands and knead it until we have a nice, well-mixed dough. I kneaded up this fathead dough for a couple of minutes, and as you can see, it looks like a very nice, well-combined dough. Look at how pretty she is. And now we can go ahead and move on with the recipe. Up next, I just opened up some mozzarella cheese sticks, and I'm going to cut these into little squares, about 4 to 5 pieces per cheese stick. We are cutting these up because each of these little pieces of cheese are going to go inside the dough balls that we are going to create. I just laid out a sheet of parchment paper, and now we can begin to assemble our pizza bites. So what we're going to do is grab our ball of fathead dough and place it on a piece of parchment paper. And now what we're going to do is spread this dough thin so we can cut it up into little pieces to make our dough balls. The easiest way to do this would be to add a piece of parchment paper on top and roll it out with a rolling pin, but my dumb self has already packed up the rolling pins in a taped box. So I am just going to put a little bit of oil on my hands and really work it thin. And it'll work just the same, but I might have to put in a little bit of extra effort. Okay, I just improvised and used this can of Pam that I had in the pantry that Cody bought a long time ago. I don't use Pam, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can use this as a rolling pin. But it worked, y'all. So I now have my dough rolled flat. What I'm going to do is I have a knife right here, and we are going to cut this into small sections, add our piece of cheese, and roll it into a ball. So I'm going to start small first. I want to make sure I cut them to about the right size. I'm just going to make my little cut of dough right here. So I have my little square of dough. Now I'm going to grab a piece of mozzarella cheese, wrap that all the way around, and kind of just shape it into a ball. And as you can see, I now have this cute little ball of dough. You can't see any of the cheese. It's hidden inside. And so now I am just gonna go through and make as many balls as this dough will make. It didn't take me too long to roll out these 25 cheese-filled dough balls. And then once I did that, I arranged them into a Christmas tree shape on a piece of parchment paper. Look at how adorable this is. I am so excited about this. So this is pretty much ready to go in our 350-degree oven. All I'm going to do is brush the tops of these with a little bit of melted butter, and they'll be good to go. I just use my hands and kind of push these together just a little bit because I want them to bake together. And the last step is I just melted a little bit of butter, and I have this little smearing thing. I am just going to put a little bit of melted butter over the tops of all of these. Now I'm going to place my little pizza ball Christmas trees into a 350-degree oven for, I'm guessing, 15 to 20 minutes or until they're slightly browning on top. Our Christmas tree pizza bites cooked for about 24 minutes, and they're nice and golden on top. And I think this is the cutest thing ever. Oh my golly. What I'm going to do now is I have a little bit of leftover butter, so I am going to baste that on top of these. Now that I've added the butter, I am going to sprinkle a little bit more of this Italian seasoning on top to give it a little bit of green, make it look real festive. And the very last thing I'm going to do is I just sliced up some pepperonis into little like fourths, and I'm just going to set those over the top, kind of like little ornaments on the tree, although they're not the prettiest. But I thought it would give it some extra pizzazz. I really wish I had a cute little Christmas platter to display this, but I don't have one right now, and since we're moving, I am not going to buy one. But you can serve it with a side of marinara sauce, and you can just like rip a little bite off and dip it in the marinara sauce, and you'll have a pizza bite. How cute is this? I am in love, y'all. Well guys, I hope that you enjoyed this keto Christmas tree pizza bite appetizer. So I pretty much found this recipe on Pinterest, except they made it with bread dough. I was like, I could totally make that. Just sub the dough for fathead dough, and it worked perfectly. Look at how cute my oh, I just lost a pepperoni. Bo's gonna be very happy about that when he finds it. But oh, I'm so excited about this. Let's give it a quick taste test. So I just pulled off the tree trunk, and I'm going to dip it in a little bit of marinara sauce. Cheers. Oh my gosh. Help. This is really good. This is dangerous that I have this sitting on my counter right now. Oh my gosh, this is so good. All right. I hope that you guys enjoyed this recipe. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel down below. And I'll see y'all again real soon with another video. Bye guys. Mwah.